It seems like it gets easier and easier to just keep your nose to the grindstone and keep going until you're basically burned out, because that's kind of culture that we've unfortunately created in the entrepreneur space. And so today, to proactively combat that, I'm going to give you 10 ways to get some rest now so that you don't burn out later. Okay, proactive tip number 1 is to let your boss know that you're taking a week off. And I know what you're thinking. I work for myself and I started this business. What is she talking about, me using my paid time off for? And the truth is that if you're self-employed, this is easy to do because you're basically your own boss and you can tell yourself, put a sticky note over your laptop and write on it something along the lines of closed, out of office until Monday. And then, I don't know, you can tape a piece of paper over the power button. But whatever it takes, you get to do whatever you want with your business, and that includes how much time that you take off. Now, I know that we all have our smartphones on us all the time, so if you feel like you're going to be tempted to check in and do some on-the-go work real quick, then you might want to consider uninstalling your social media and email apps off of your phone. The second proactive tip is to practice staying hydrated. This isn't specifically related to burnout, but we all need to drink more water. I think that that's kind of across the board a struggle that everyone has, whether you have a business or not. And so I want you to focus on having some really good established hydration habits. So if that means that you have to treat yourself to a cute water bottle that you're actually excited to drink out of, maybe you can measure how much is in it, and so that you know exactly how many of them that you have to drink per day, then you can start with that. Personally, I do a lot of my work from home, and so I have this tumbler, and I try to drink 2 of these throughout the day. I rarely ever do it, but I do come close, and I don't think that I would be able to do that if I had just a small water bottle that I sometimes drink out of. In the past, I have also used some kind of pop-up reminder on my phone that pops up at the same time every day in the afternoon and asks me if I've finished my first cup of the day. And if I have, then great. And if not, then I take a minute to hydrate. So you could try that for yourself. The third proactive tip is to do something creative, because unless you work exclusively as a self-employed artist, then your right brain probably needs some love compared to all the time that you spend on analytics and content strategy and all of the above, right? So you don't have to make this too complicated. Grab some pens and some paper, your kids' crayons or finger paint, and just make some art. Or maybe you can pick up that instrument that you haven't touched since high school, but you still have, and see if you can still play something on it. Or if those require a little too much initiative, then maybe you can just open your Spotify app and put on your favorite 90s jam and turn off the lights and then just have a solo dance party where you challenge yourself to dance for 3 songs straight. Which brings me to the next one. You guessed it, fire up the endorphins, aka get some exercise. And I don't mean this in a you need to lose weight so that you look skinnier on camera kind of way. I mean just whatever physical activity actually feels good in your body. You can dance, you can take a spin class, you can go for a jog, but mostly walk in your neighborhood or your favorite neighborhood. Just make sure that instead of losing weight or calorie burning, that you focus on the physical movements that make you smile. YouTube is a really good place to find free workout videos, and there are lots of apps available for free or for a monthly fee that have pre-designed workout routines, and you can safely do them at home with no equipment. And then my 5th proactive tip for avoiding burnout and getting some rest right now is to literally take a nap. Take several naps. Basically do whatever it takes to convince yourself that an afternoon spent asleep is better for you than an afternoon reading personal development book or writing out Instagram captions or finishing that audiobook. Honestly, your body doesn't care what your launch schedule is. And if you really want to take this to the next level, then use that Fitbit or that Apple Watch and start monitoring your sleep quality at night. Without judgment, because being hard on yourself isn't going to make it easier to relax. But the point is to just get better at sleeping, get better at resting, and don't overthink it. Just take a nap. Tip number 6 for being proactive is to write in a journal. And I'm a huge fan of journal writing, but I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. So if you've never tried it before, it's really just, grabbing a journal, a notebook, and it doesn't have to be like a hardcover fancy journal. It can just be a little notebook. And immediately when you wake up in the morning, instead of grabbing your phone, grab your journal and just start writing whatever's on your mind. Even if it's a bunch of junk, even if it doesn't make much sense, just keep writing words. Just more words and thoughts and words. And I learned this technique from the book The Artist's Way, and it's actually really helpful for just like, it's kind of like a brain stretch first thing in the morning. But it's been good for me instead of checking my email first thing in the morning. So give it a try. Tip number 7 is to become a tourist in your own neighborhood. And this is a little reminder that travel doesn't have to be long distance to be appreciated. And I say that with a heavy heart as a lover of travel who hasn't been traveling a whole lot recently. I'm trying to remind myself that the close by things are fascinating too. You could try planning a solo retreat day in your own neighborhood and pick a few things that you haven't seen or you haven't experienced yet, but you know exist somewhere nearby. The last time I tried this for myself, my rules were to visit an antique store, go see natural water. I happen to live in a Delta area, so that's actually fairly easy for me. And then I also said I have to go get tacos at a place that I've never eaten before. And when I went out and did all 3 of those things, it really felt like a day out, even though I was just in my hometown. Tip number 8 is to start a new daily meditation practice. So if you're new to meditation, you can really just set a goal to meditate for 5 minutes every day and then increase the amount of time that you as you feel comfortable. My favorite app for this is the Balance app. Your first year of membership is free, but they give you a curated series of like mindfulness-based meditations based on your personal experience within the app. If you want to go a little deeper into meditation, there's also a free course online called MBSR, which stands for Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. And that's available for free if you go to paloozemindfulness.com. Our second to last tip is to see your doctor or doctors if your burnout feels too difficult to manage. And I know that the whole idea was that we were trying to get some rest now so that we don't burn out, but you might already be burned out. So it's a good idea to see your general practitioner for your annual checkup. And or a therapist, at least once a year to get a professional assessment of just how you're doing. And I know that like the medical systems are kind of messed up depending on where you live, but if you have access to them and if you appreciate input about your own body and you don't have to pay for it and you just need to, go in there and get it done, then go get it done. Depending on who your doctor is and who your specialists are and like the system that you're within, then you may or may not want to take the advice that they give you, but you'll actually have that as a baseline. And I feel like getting input about your body and your current state of mind and state of physicality is helpful if it comes from someone else, whether that's because you agree with them or you decide to disagree with them. So you should check your benefits paperwork if you have a day job and just get familiar with what's available and what's covered, especially if you have like a chiropractic option or, just all kinds of things. Don't be afraid to invest in additional treatments and tests until you feel comfortably certain about your own physical health. And finally, the 10th and final piece of advice that I have for you is to track your rest. And this probably isn't a surprise because I am a big fan of basically tracking everything just so that you can learn more about the situation that you're in. But if you track your tasks and your priorities as someone who's self-employed, then you can track your rest time too. Lately, that has looked like, for me, at the bottom of each day in my planner, I have a little space to draw in a smiley face or a frowny face or whatever kind of face I'm making, just as an assessment of how I was feeling that day. And this will be especially helpful for those of you who struggle with resting and doing nothing. A life coach once told me, when you take time off, your job is to do nothing. That is your job. Your job is to rest. So I encourage you to try and track your rest and see what happens. All right, friends, those are your 10 tips to get some rest now so that you can avoid burning out later. And I hope that you are taking good care of yourself. I hope that you found something in this episode that feels helpful and easily applicable to your own situation and your own life right now. There's a whole lot going on in the world, and I want you to take care of yourself because the work that you're doing actually matters, and you can't get it out there and you can't help the people you want to help if you yourself are breaking down and feeling crummy and burning out. Remember, I invite you to connect with me over on LinkedIn. I'll leave my link in the show notes, but find me on LinkedIn and send me a connection request and let me know what episode you just listened to. All right, that's it for today.